Quality assurance is one of the most important risk mitigators for any sort of digital transformation. But what exactly is quality assurance? I'm going to talk about that here today. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting. We're an independent consulting firm that helps clients through their digital transformation journeys. And quality assurance is one of the more underrated success factors for any sort of digital transformation. It's one of the things that can help keep your project on track, help you identify and mitigate risk before they become a problem, and ultimately help you implement on time, more effectively, and at a lower cost than if you didn't have the quality assurance framework in place. So what I want to talk about here today is a discussion of what quality assurance is and how you can deploy that sort of framework on your digital transformation. More than anything, QA is a risk mitigation tool. It's a way to anticipate, identify, and mitigate risks before they become so much of a problem that it's hard to turn back from. And ultimately, companies that do risk mitigation well are the ones that are the most successful. And one way to think of quality assurance, or QA, is to think of it as a canary in the coal mine. To go with that analogy from the coal mining days, coal miners used to use canaries that would sing as an indicator of a gas leak. So in other words, they would hear the canary singing until the canaries died from a gas leak, and the miners would know at that point that there's trouble and they need to get out of the mine. So quality assurance is a lot like that. It's an early indicator, an early advanced warning system of problems that may not seem apparent while they're happening, but those actions and things that are deficient with your project, even though they're not felt early on in the project, they will be felt later on. And by the time they're felt later on, as you get closer to go live, that's where it becomes a real problem. And that's where it becomes very costly and disruptive to try and fix it that late in the game. So more than anything, it's a risk mitigation framework that allows you to identify risks as early as possible in your transformation. So in some ways, quality assurance is a checklist of things, best practices, things that need to happen in a transformation in order for it to be successful. But it's not really a checklist of did we or didn't we do activities A, B, or C, but instead it's did we do activities A, B, or C effectively, and are those deliverables or activities up to standard of what you would expect to see from a successful transformation. So for example, one item on our quality assurance framework that we use at Third Stage is related to testing. So if we are analyzing a transformations test plan, you might look at it and say, yes, we have some testing, and therefore we can check that off our list and say that, yes, we have user acceptance testing, so therefore everything's good. But when you really peel back the onion and look at the test plan, you find that there's only one or two iterations of user acceptance testing. There's not a plan for which stakeholders are going to be involved or making sure the right stakeholders are involved. There's not adequate time in the plan to remediate any problems or issues that come out of user acceptance testing, which almost inevitably do happen. So that's just one example or case study of how quality assurance is much more than just a checklist of did we do these things, but it's more of an assessment of did we do these things well and how could we do these things better. So just as important as it is to recognize that we're doing all the things we need to do, we also need to analyze how well we've done those things. And that's something that an effective quality assurance framework, an experienced team of outside consultants can help you with. Now, when we look at quality assurance and when we're helping our clients through their quality assurance process, which by the way, starts on day one of a transformation and continues throughout the implementation, we generally are looking and analyzing the project through a number of different lenses. So we're looking at it from the perspective of contracts and procurement and overall project governance. We're also looking at it from the perspective of business process management and how we're improving business processes, how we're handling organizational change management and training, how we're managing testing, data, infrastructure, integration, a lot of different components that you can see in our quality assurance framework. And it's important to note that we want to look at all these different lenses because all these lenses are important to the transformation. And as the transformation evolves and as you move through the journey, certain pieces of this quality assurance framework become more important than others. and then others will ebb and flow and become less important later on in the project, and vice versa. So it's important to recognize where and when and how you're assessing the project, but in general, you want to look at your project through all these different lenses of quality assurance. So some of the biggest benefits of quality assurance include risk mitigation, as I mentioned before. It includes ensuring that you're able to implement faster, cheaper, with less resources and more effectively than you would have otherwise. And it also mitigates and minimizes the disruption that transformations often cause. So if you think about all of the inefficiencies and headaches and heartaches that are caused by transformations that have gone off the rails, that creates a lot of disruption for your team. It creates a lot of doubt and uncertainty. And overall, it creates a lot of problems that don't need to be experienced. So quality assurance will also help during the implementation to make sure that there's less turmoil. And certainly at the time of go live, that's probably where you really feel the benefit of quality assurance, in that you generally are going to see less disruption, less problems shipping product, less problems with go live disasters that you see with a lot of organizations, because we've been able to anticipate those risks and mitigate those risks early in the process. So quality assurance has a wide-ranging set of benefits that start on day one of your transformation, and actually the value of quality assurance increases as you go through the transformation and ultimately reach go live. One other thing I'll note too is that quality assurance is something that can be done a couple different ways. One way is to do it as more of an ongoing part of your program management, and another way is to do more stage gate reviews or milestone reviews, where we do a more formal assessment of where things are, where the risks are, what the remediation plan is. And in some cases, clients will ask us to do a combination of both, to do sort of an ongoing quality assurance as well as the more formal milestones along the way. So however you build quality assurance into your plan, you want to make sure that it addresses all of these key components we've talked about so far. So one of the questions we oftentimes get from clients is, why do we need quality assurance, and how does quality assurance relate to what the system integrator is doing? And another question we often get is, shouldn't the system integrator be providing the quality assurance? And that's a very complex question with a number of different answers, so I'll try to simplify here. First of all, we have to recognize the biases that system integrators have. System integrators are generally focused on implementing a specific technology. They're not generally focused on the other aspects of your transformation. So while a system integrator might, in theory, be able to do quality assurance, they'd only be looking at one lens or one work stream within a broader transformation. But probably the bigger reason why your system integrator is not equipped to do quality assurance is because it's a lot like the fox guarding the hen house. The system integrator generally has a lot to lose by pointing the finger at themselves and noticing all the faults and blames and risks that have come out of the project as a result of their actions. So what system integrators are very good at doing is spinning the risks, or putting themselves in a favorable light in a way that hides the risks and masks the real risks of the transformation. And that may help them, and it may make them look good in the short term, but longer term, that's going to hurt the overall transformation and ultimately hurt your organization. So it's very important to separate that quality assurance function from your system integrator and make sure that it's a team or a team member that can provide a holistic view of the entire transformation, has nothing to gain or lose by pointing out the faults or the risks or the things that need to be fixed, and ultimately can do that most effectively. And generally, that's not your system integrator. So quality assurance is one of the most important things you can do to make your project successful. It's actually a good way to provide sort of a safety net or an insurance policy for your transformation. And when you think of all the time and money and investment that you're making in this overall transformation, the incremental cost of investing in that insurance policy is very small when compared to the benefit and the risk that you're mitigating. So I've also included some additional resources below that will provide some additional guidance from a risk management perspective, as well as just general digital transformation best practices. I've included some links below in the description field on this video. So I hope you found this information useful and hope you have a great day.